Are you looking to learn Final Cut Pro 10 here in 2020? If so, in this video series, we're going to dive into the basics and the fundamentals of this program. Hey guys, welcome back to another video here at Cinematic Diaries. Today we are going to dive into the basics of Final Cut Pro 10. I think this is a video that needs to be made here in 2020, and I'm excited to really dive into the details of it. It is going to be broken up into a few different parts. I'm going to try to keep it as simple and as easy to understand as possible. We're going to go slow, not too fast, and that's why I'm breaking it up. Additionally, I'm going to be linking down below the timestamps throughout this video so that if you need to come back and reference certain parts, you'll have easy access to that as well. So make sure you check that out. But let's just kind of start from scratch here. Let's just say hypothetically you are brand new to making videos and you're brand new to the editing process. But you want to invest in a software, a program where you can edit. I do recommend iMovie starting out. Let's just say you're new to all of this. You might want to check out iMovie. It's free, comes with all of the Apple products, and you can easily learn that one. That's an incredibly easy program to learn. Some of the first videos I ever made, several starting out, I just used iMovie because it was free and I didn't want to spend the money on Final Cut. With that said, Final Cut is kind of the upgraded version, I think, of iMovie. And there's a lot more bells and whistles, things that you can do. And when I did upgrade, it was a game changer. So if you are looking to invest into Final Cut, go ahead and do that. But enough rambling, let's actually dive into the tutorial here, okay? All right, so here we are on my MacBook. The first thing we're gonna do, you wanna open up Final Cut Pro. And we're gonna dive into understanding how to open up a project and just start from there. So that's gonna be step one here is learning how to actually open up Final Cut Pro and set this thing up, okay? So as you can see, there's already something over here. This is what the interface looks like. This is what the program looks like. At first glance, if you've never seen this before, it can be incredibly overwhelming. But fear not, it is super user-friendly. It is very easy to learn, and with practice, you can knock this out in several days. Not just a couple of days, but it'll take a few days. But all right, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to create a library. You want to open up the library, which is essentially what you're looking at right now, to create a video, okay? So we're going to go up here to File. We're going to go to New, and you'll see Project, Event, and Library. We're going to select Library. That's what we want, okay? And then what it's going to do, it's going to give you the option of saving this library. You can save this to your desktop. You could save this under your C drive, under Movies. I work exclusively out of an external hard drive, so that's where I would typically put it. But just for the sake of this video, we're just going to put it on my desktop, and I'm just going to call it Final Cut Pro 10 Basics. Okay. So save, we'll save that to the desktop. Now I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. That was already something I had created. But here's what we've got here in our browser. You can see the library. This is the library. It's gonna have your information over here where this library is stored. And then you're going to see this. This is an event called Smart Collections. Smart Collections is essentially a collection of all of your audio, your video, just everything that you have within your library, okay? Underneath that is your events, okay? This is essentially what you might want to call your video, right? And as you saw, it created an event automatically titled 4/9/20, which is today's date. So what I want to do within that library, I want to create an event. Okay, so I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to right click within this section and do new event. Let's just call it travel vlog or travel video. Call it travel video. Okay, so hit OK, and you probably saw all those settings. We're coming back to that. Okay, and then I'm going to get rid of this as well. I don't want that. Yes. So now we've got our video. So let's just say you went to Thailand and you're wanting to create a video on your trip to Thailand. So you've got your video titled travel video, okay? And then if you look over here to the right within this other section, you've got this little thing, this little movie clip looking thing, and then an untitled project. So within each event, you can create projects. Normally for myself, what I'll do if I'm only creating one video, I'll just create the event and then work within that event, and that's it. But let's just say that hypothetically you had 3 days that you filmed. So what you could do within your travel video event, you can come over here and create different projects. So different vlogs. So maybe this was day 1 vlog. Okay, so you've got that. So what you would want to do after that, 2 things you could do. You could just create a new event if you wanted to, or you could create within that event a new project. And so you'll right click, do new project, and then same thing. Let's just do day 2 vlog, right? So now you've got 2 different projects. It's all consolidated. It's all right there within that event. So that is essentially it. That's the difference between a library, an event, and a project. I got really confused when I started out with it. I could never figure it out. Your library is essentially where you're creating all of your content. You've got to have the library open. Call it whatever you want. It could be, so my channel is called Cinematic Diaries. I have a library called Cinematic Diaries, and that's where all of my projects for that channel are working. I work out of that library alone. And then within that, I create events or my videos. So like the last couple of videos, one was called, Start YouTube Now. The Canon G7X, all of those events were titled that, right? So there's several different things that you can do within this project. Now, I did say that there was that pop-up window. Let's go back to that because there's some things that you need to know about that, okay? So let's just do a brand new event and see, it's gonna pull this up right here. So we'll call it travel video 2. So this is where you can create your format, select the format that you want. If you shot your video in 4K and you want to create an export in 4K, this is where you would do that. If you shot it in 1080p and you want it in 1080p, this is where you would do that. And so here's our event name. I've called it Travel Video 2. It's under Library Final Cut Pro Basics. I'm going to create a new project within that event. And you could deselect that to where it just creates the event as opposed to the project, but we're not going to do that. And this is where you can select 4K 1080p and you'll see your resolution changes. If you wanted to do like a custom video for Instagram, let's just say you wanted to do an Instagram video, this is where you would do that. So you'd have 1080 by 1080. Very simple, just like that. But let's go back over here to 4K. And then it's going to have your standard Rec 709 for your color space. That's normal. We're going to keep it just as that. All of those settings are going to be, we're going to keep all that the same, okay? And then we'll select OK, and that creates our event with our project, okay? Okay, so essentially that's everything with this section here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'm also gonna link an article about the Rec 709, all of that stuff that was in there under the format and resolution. I'm not super techie with that stuff, and so if you are and you want to know more details, I'm going to link an article below for you to go check out to read up on really what all of that is and what all of that means. All right, so moving on, next we're going to talk about importing some footage into our library. Now that we have an understanding of what the library is, our projects, all of that, the 4K, we're going to actually import some stuff in here, okay? Now there's a couple of ways that you can import your footage. I have my way. You're going to find the way that works the best for you based on your organization, preferences, and how quickly you want to get the footage in there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just delete this travel video. I'm going to move that to the trash. I don't need that. All I want is this one. And my wife and I recently took a trip to DC back in October. So I'm going to create a project called that. And so this is our browser. That's where all of our information is, all of our files. Down below here, we've got our timeline. Okay, so this is where you're going to be editing all of your footage. And then right here, as you can tell, this is probably the most noticeable thing, is your viewer, the place where you look at your footage. Okay, and then over here where it says nothing to inspect, we're going to talk about that here in just a second. Okay, so the first thing we can do, let's just do import media, and then it's going to pull up this tab where you can go to import some media. Where I'm wanting to get my footage from, there's a hard drive here. So there's the footage that I want. So everything in here, I'm going to import. So this is one way you can import. You could just open up the folder, the hard drive in your Finder window and then just drag everything in. That's one way to do it. So as you can see, there's several different things over here. So we're going to add to existing event, which is travel video 2. That's what we called it. Or you could do create a new event in your library. You could do it that way, but we're just going to add it to what we've already got. I don't want to copy these files to the library, because what that's going to do is it's going to add a duplicate file to your C drive, which is going to add a lot of stuff, which if you want that backup and you have that space, go for it. I personally don't like doing that. I just want to leave the files on the hard drive and work out of that. You can keep your keywords the same. Audio roles assign automatically. Transcoding. So what is transcoding? The best way to describe transcoding is with this website here on Apple. They can explain it so much more than I can. So it says create, optimize, and proxy files in Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro can play back many media formats. For a complete list, check out the media format supported in Final Cut Pro. Final Cut also provides options for transcoding your media, converting it into a different format, and changing its settings to make it suitable for editing. So under that, it says create optimized media. So that's what we're going to have right here. You've got create optimized media and create proxy media. Okay. And so under optimized media, this option transcodes video to the Apple ProRes 422 codec format, which provides better performance during editing, faster render times, and better color quality for compositing. If the original camera format can be edited with good performance, this option can be dimmed. I always select optimized media. It makes it so much easier to edit. You'll notice if you don't do that, it's going to be choppy with a lot of footage, especially if it's a big file. And so that's what creating this optimized media does for you. And then secondly, our proxy media, this is incredibly beneficial, especially if you're shooting in 4K. This option creates proxy files. Video is transcoded to the Apple ProRes 422 proxy codec format, which provides high quality files useful for offline editing at the original frame rate and aspect ratio. Final Cut Pro creates medium quality, 1/2 resolution proxy versions that increase editing performance and take up considerably less storage space than optimized files. So essentially, you have those two different options. You want to be able to edit optimized media, so just go ahead and select that. But it's also beneficial to create proxy media as well. Proxy media is a smaller formatted file that you're able to edit, and it doesn't buffer, it doesn't slow down, it's not choppy, it's much smoother to edit. But it doesn't export the proxy. It exports the transcoded media, the higher formatted media, okay? So you're going to want to go ahead and transcode both of those to get both of those. I promise you it's gonna help you in the long run. And then when we go to edit our videos, what I do is I edit in proxy because those files are much smaller, and so they don't get logged up and jammed and they slow up. You know, if you try to edit in optimized media, you'll notice sometimes it's like it lags a little bit. Hopefully that explains it well enough. So we're gonna select all of that, and then analyze and fix. We're gonna leave that as is. Import selected. Now, so this comes up for me because of the file format that I use to shoot with the Sony a7 III. I don't really know why it does this. It creates this XML clip in addition to the MP4. I'm not super tech savvy with all of that, but it won't import this into that. And so if you're just simply shooting in 1080p, more than likely, you know, you're not going to have, if it's an MOV, you're probably not going to have this come up. Just go ahead and import and continue to import if that does come up. All right, so now what we've got here in our browser, you'll see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clips within my project file, okay? And as you can see, it says missing proxy right here. So it's missing that information. What it's gonna have to do in order to edit in proxy it has to transcode. And so we're going to pull this little tab up, as you just saw, this right here where the little circle is. It's a task window, okay? And in our background tasks, you've got several different things that are working. First, you've got your transcoding and analysis, which this is where we're getting our media, our proxy media and our optimized media transcoded, okay? So it's essentially it's loading it so that you can edit it. So there's all 9 clips there, and then it's going to transcode and load those in so that you can edit them. And you'll notice that as it finishes the loading, this right here will change. The reason why right now it shows that as red, let's go over here to where it says view, and it's going to give you some options here. See where it says media? I've got it selected proxy because I typically edit in proxy as opposed to the original optimized media. But if we select optimize, you'll see it changes. What I'm telling you though is if you try to edit with that, it's slow. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to proxy and we're just gonna let this transcode. That's gonna take a few minutes. I recommend letting it transcode and working out of all of the files being transcoded as opposed to working before they're transcoded. And yeah, we're just gonna sit here and we're gonna wait for all of this to transcode so that we can take our clips and we can copy them into the timeline. All right, and just like that, it is finished. All of the transcoding has taken place, and now we've got proxy files and we have optimized media. So if we go over here to the view tab right here under media, I can select optimized, or I can work in my proxy files. And so it makes things so much more easy. So there's a couple of ways that we can edit a video depending upon how you actually want to edit. You can come over here in your project and you can select certain areas of the clip. As you can see, like let's just say I only wanted this right here. I could select that and then drag that onto my timeline. Okay. That's not typically how I operate. If that's how you want to do it, fine. For me, I typically edit chronologically based on most of my videos. And so a lot of those videos are formatted based on their title, you know, and the number. So 52, 53, you know, I know that that's how they were filmed. That's how I'm going to edit. So what I do is I just do Command A to select all of those, and then we're gonna just grab it and drag it down here into our timeline. So just upon first glance, there's a lot going on in this timeline, and I want to keep this as simple and as basic as possible. I've been editing in Final Cut since 2017 now, so 2-ish years, 2.5 years, 3 years, somewhere around there. And this is my method. This is what's worked for me. Right here, you've got on this side our index. And then other than that, we have all of these here. I've actually never, ever even used any of these, so I don't quite actually know what they do and really what purpose they would serve other than complicating things. So what we're going to do is just not use them. Maybe just ignore it or kind of play around with it yourself, right? Next to that is our cursor options, and this is our select tool. And right now we've got just the normal select tool. You can also select your trim tool, which allows you to trim your clips as you go, like that. You could do position, which allows you to move your clips to different positions, as opposed to see how it pulls the clip off of the timeline. If I were to have just the normal cursor selected, what it would do is pull it out of the timeline. I may not want that, and so if you want to position it differently, from there you've got your range selection. So if you wanted to actually just export this here, that selection, I've done that a lot. You would hit your range tool. Your blade, of course, is going to be able to cut each of these clips. Zoom, you're going to be able to zoom in. And the hand tool allows you to drag along the timeline, okay? All of those have hotkeys, okay? A is for the select tool, T is for trim, P position, so on and so forth. So if I'm just on my normal cursor and I want to position a certain clip somewhere else, I would just hit P and it switches to that cursor, and then I'm able to drag it out, and then I'd move back to A, right? Or if I wanted to select a certain area of the clip to export, I'd hit the R and I can select that. You'll learn those hotkeys very quickly. I typically stay on the select tool anyways, so Moving along over here to the right side, you're going to have you have the ability here to turn audio and video skimming off or on, and I usually keep that off just so my cursor stays where I want it, as opposed to having it on. It moves around a lot. That's my personal preference. You might want to do something different. The next one is our audio, which highlights a specific clip, and you can listen to just that clip. And then we've got our snap tool, which is very, very useful because it's almost like it's snapping to the grid. It allows you to edit and move things according to where that grid is. So if my cursor is here, right, I want that clip to snap to it. Well, it's not snapping, you see? If you don't want it to snap, don't do that. So what I'll do is I'll select this, and then it snaps to that cursor, just like that. It's magic. And then additionally, we have this here as well. You can change the appearance of the clips in the timeline. And so I can zoom in and out. I could go from where I was with the video audio to maybe I just wanted the video, no audio on there. Maybe I wanted it like that. You can kind of play around with it however works best for you. You can change the size of the clips if that is something that would help you visualize and see things as you go, but I tend to just keep mine kind of right there. And then over here, you're going to have your effects tab where you're going to have all of your effects that are loaded into Final Cut. And then additionally, your transitions, okay? So this is where you have all those luma fades, your cross dissolves, your ins and outs, things like that. So that is basically it when it comes to this stuff. A couple of other keyboard hotkeys you're gonna wanna know that makes things really easy. Obviously the space bar plays the clip. Another one is Command B. Command B cuts the clip. Command Z is undo. You could do Shift Command Z, that's redo. Command A is select all. Those are the ones I use the absolute most. And then of course, just your regular copy paste, Command C, Command V. Command N is a new project. So if you wanted to create a new project on the fly, just Command N. And then lastly, this is I learned this after a while, but it's Command plus and minus. That's your zoom key. So instead of coming over here and zooming in and out like that, just use Command plus to zoom in and zoom out like that. Saved you some time. All right, that's going to be it for part 1. Thanks so much for watching. I encourage you to check out part 2 of learning Final Cut Pro 10 basics. Make sure you check that out. And thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video, if this was helpful or not, down in the comments below. And also make sure you hit the like button and subscribe too. Hit the notifications bell if you got value out of this and you want to see more just like it.